there are going to be two functional groups of muscles that will provide movement of both the neck and the vertebral column. One of those groups will move the head, and the other are going to extend the trunk and help you maintain posture fighting gravity. Sternocleidomastoid is one that I've mentioned before. It is a major head flexor. Remember that muscles are generally paired. They're going to be bilateral. So when you contract the sternocleidomastoid muscle bilaterally, you will flex your head. You'll bring your chin to your chest. And there they list a couple of the synergists to sternocleidomastoid, suprahyoid and infrahyoid. I have never asked about those. When you contract sternocleidomastoid unilaterally, you will have lateral flexion to the opposite side. So sterno for sternum, cleido for clavicle, mastoid for mastoid process. This muscle will originate on the sternum and the clavicle and insert, you got it, on the mastoid process. So if you bring your right mastoid process towards the origin of the muscle on the right, you will have forward flexion of the head with lateral movement to the opposite side. Let me repeat that. You will have forward flexion of the head with lateral movement to the opposite side simultaneously. Another group of very important muscles will be the scalenes, and they will also be responsible for moving your head laterally. Sternocleidomastoid will be associated with what is known as torticollis, Torticollis, which you may know as wry neck, W-R-Y, neck. For some idiopathic reason, that muscle will tighten and stay in spasm, which brings your head to that sort of weird turning away from the side of the muscle that's contracted movement. And it stays that way for a while. It's more frequent or more common in children than it is in adults. The scalenes are going to be very important because of what is known as the thoracic outlet syndrome. So hang on to that. Here's our sternocleidomastoid. Hello, you can't see my cursor, and neither can I. Please check out Atlas. Please check out Axis. Please check out the origination of sternocleidomastoid on the clavicle and the sternum. And then please note the scalenes. If you look at the designation for anterior scalene, and then you look at the middle scalene, you're going to see a little triangle that's located there. And that is what's known as the thoracic outlet. The brachial plexus, which is a network of nerve roots that come off the cervical spine and supply the upper extremity, exits out from or through that tiny little triangle, the thoracic outlet. And if the muscles are hypertonic, specifically if the scalene muscles are hypertonic, you will have impingement on that plexus, and therefore you will have issues along the distribution of the nerves that arise from the brachial plexus. So this is clinically significant. The symptoms that you may end up with mimic the symptoms of carpal tunnel syndrome. And I have known a number of patients as well as friends who have said, oh, I have carpal tunnel syndrome, when they have actually had thoracic outlet syndrome. Thoracic outlet syndrome is a boatload easier to fix, to manage, or cure. And if you have true carpal tunnel, you may end up needing surgery, although I always say conservative care first. Surgery if you need it, but only if you need it. Sternocleidomastoid is also clinically significant because of torticollis. The deep muscles of the back are a group that are known as the erector spinae muscles, and that tells you exactly what they are doing. They are keeping the spine erect. They keep the back in extension, and they will also play a role in lateral bending if you're contracting them unilaterally. There are 3 muscles that make up that group, and you need to know them. Iliocostalis, so what does that tell you? Ilio, ilium, costal for ribs. So sure enough, those muscles are going to run from the ilium and insert on various ribs. Longissimus tells you it's a long muscle, and spinalis tells you that it is going to be closest to the spine. So the so-called I love spaghetti muscles, ILS, run from lateral to medial, and they will be in order: iliocostalis, longissimus, and spinalis. I would know those, and I would know about the erector spinae or spinae group if I were you. These are the muscles that allow you to fight gravity when you are standing up. There are a couple of other muscles that will be their synergists, which include semispinalis and quadratus lumborum. I mentioned quadratus lumborum in particular because this is a muscle that frequently gets damaged or torn or can cause so-called low back pain or low back problems. And I've actually had a tear to my QLs. Once you're in the know, you can call them QLs, the quadratus lumborum. And I could stand, or if I could get into a supine position, I could lie down, but I couldn't do much else for probably about a month. It was a repetitive stress injury. So let's take a look at these. You can see the erector spinae group that is marked on sort of the lower left-hand part of that page, and you can see in order, lateral to medial, iliocostalis, longissimus, spinalis. If you flip out and you can't remember, oh my gosh, which one is medial? Oh my gosh, which one is lateral? Spinalis is the last of the I love spaghetti muscles, and because its name is spinalis, it tells you it's going to sit right up next to the spine, and I hope that helps. Again, these muscles are going to allow you to stand up straight, and if you bend over laterally, right or left, those muscles will contract on one side. So for example, if you contract the erector spinae muscles on the right, you will laterally flex to the right.